Good evening and welcome to another weekend with us here. It's another evening for us to another weekend to draft. It is Lebialem County today. We draft for Lebialem County, and it's more interesting because on this segment tonight we're not only drafting, we have with us two amazing guests who would be dissecting a very crucial topic that has been in almost every news platform. Actually, they will be dissecting the topic of France losing its grip on Africa and all the coups that has happened in the recent. It's going to be interesting tonight, and with me here is of course Onyi Okwala.
Yeah, and you're all welcome to tonight's on Daunted show. Of course, it's the pre-draft show with Paddy King, but Paddy King is not here right now. You join him later on. But before we get into the draft proper, I'm sure that everyone is getting connected to the Zoom meeting platform because I mean that is where the draft will take place. All right. Just like Stir Smart mentioned, we have Barrister Fu Johnso in the house. We also have Barrister Tim Bessia. We also have Comrade Valerie here in the house. And they will be with us from now up until we join the Zoom for the draft proper. All right. After the break, we'll bring you some of the stories making headlines.
See that you can if I know that can.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroes guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La Republica War. The time is now to do just that.
Try so hard to be, maybe a great
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your heart and believe like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood and another can. My sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you will see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you will see that you can if another can. Oh.
All right, let's see some of the reports we have here tonight. Now, the fight for the liberation of Amazonian from the colonial chains of La Republique de Cameroon is above individuals. It is not an individual and can never die due to the loss of an individual. It will be a mistake to celebrate the death of an Amazonian fighter. Many fighters have fallen in this war of liberation, yet the fighting spirit is still very much alive. The colonial La Republique de Cameroon military killed General Christopher Elejuma of Akwaya in an operation last Tuesday, August 29th, in Manu County.
Now, in the full report, Christopher Elejuma, who is the self-proclaimed general of the Amazonian Restoration Movement, has been reported to have been killed by the Colonial La Republique military, according to reports from the Guardian Post daily newspaper. He was killed during a La Republique military operation on Tuesday, August 29, 2023, in Akwaya, Manu County of the Atlantic Zone of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. The Amazonian general and his fighters were unexpectedly attacked at a checkpoint located at the entrance of Budam village. Officers of occupation from the La Republique Rapid Intervention Battalion B were the ones who carried out the attack.
All right, and right after the break, we'll be back with more reports.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Amazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La Republican War. The time is now to do just that.
So hard to be, maybe a great deal.
We're enough, so let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your heart and believe like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh my sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh. See that you can if another can.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Amazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La Republican War. The time is now to do just that.
So hard to be, maybe a great deal.
We're enough, so let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your heart and believe like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can. Oh my sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh. See that you can if another can.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Amazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La República War. The time is now to do just that.
Try so hard to be, maybe a great
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your unbelief like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh my sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, see that you can if another can.
The War's Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La República War. The time is now to do just that.
Try so hard to be, maybe a great
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your heart and believe like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh my sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh. See that you can if another can.
The War's Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give our enemies what they have been giving us.
The piece of cloth made in Amazonia. A land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people. A profound reflection of Amazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Amazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth, made in Amazonia, became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Amazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Amazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive. The piece of cloth made in Amazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Amazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is
mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth made in Amazonia became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Amazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Amazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive.
As you already know, every episode of the pre-draft show will not only entertain, captivate, and or educate you, but also it is customized to stir the mobilization of resources for a worthy cause. In a world full of scripted dramas and reality TV, this show stands out for its unique purpose: to make a difference in the lives of the oppressed peoples of Amazonia. It is a show that combines the power of entertainment, infotainment, with the strength of collective action. Each episode of this show takes us on a journey through the lives of our people facing immense challenges, be it poverty, discrimination, injustice, or belligerent occupation. We get a glimpse into the struggles of every county in Amazonia and their dreams for a better future. But this show does not stop at just showcasing their hardships. It goes further. It empowers viewers to make a tangible impact on each county. Throughout the show, we are presented with opportunities to contribute and support these counties in their fight for a brighter tomorrow. Whether it is through monetary donations, volunteering, or spreading awareness, we are encouraged to participate actively in their journey towards a better life and, most importantly, a free Amazonia. The pre-draft show is not just a platform for entertainment or infotainment. It is a catalyst for change. It urges us to tap into our compassion, to open our hearts, and to extend a helping hand towards the liberation movement. It reminds us that we have the power to make a positive difference in the home front, one episode at a time. So I implore you to tune in, especially for those who are watching us on social media, not just as a passive viewer, but as active participants. Watch this show with a purpose: to learn, to be inspired, and to take action. Let it ignite a fire within you, urging you to mobilize resources and reach out to those in need. By supporting this TV show on ABC Amber TV, you are not only contributing to a groundbreaking form of entertainment, but also facilitating real change on the ground. Your involvement will provide much needed resources, amplify voices, and drive forward progress in our communities that have long been overlooked. So join us in the incredible journey together. Let's use the power of TV to mobilize resources, create awareness, and make a lasting impact by charting a definitive path for Ambazonia. Thank you for your support, and let us tune in TV show of purpose and possibility. For those watching via social media platforms again, please share.
All right, you're welcome back. And so if you're just joining us, well, you already know it is the pre-draft show for Lebialem, and you already know the essence. We raise funds for the ARS and for every other important need that the fund is needed for. All right, tonight, to do justice to all of the topical issues we have on the ground, we have Barrister Fu Johnso in the house, and we want to check his audio. You know, we didn't do that earlier when we started, so we want to cross-check that audio and be sure that he's audible, so that when we start the conversation, we wouldn't have any hitches or any disturbance whatsoever. We also have Barrister T. Mbesia in the studio, as you can see on the screen. We also have Comrade Valerie. He's the coordinator of ALO local government area. So please, can we be sure that we can hear you, please, sir?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting us once more. I don't know if you can hear me.
Very clear. All right. All right, Barrister team this year, please, sir, can we be sure that we can hear you? All right. Comrade Valerie, how are you doing today? Today we draft for your county. Use that opportunity to express yourself to us. All right, fellow Ambazonians, today is for Lebialem, and so we'll project the county we are drafting for first. Remember, we told you that we have so many stories for your listening pleasure, and of course, the commentators in the house would do us the justice to give us effective analysis of all of the stories we have for you tonight. But let us get into Lebialem. And of course, you know, the best person to take us into Lebialem is Tarh Smart. She has something for you, but she would only bring that right after the break.
In our editorial for tonight, we'll take a look at an overview of historical facts of Lebialem. Lebialem County, according to the colonial framework, was one of the 6 administrative divisions of what they call the southwest region of colonial Cameroon. In the obvious mannerism of the colonial administration, by a presidential decree signed by Paul Biya in 1992, the then Funtem, which under Manu was upgraded with headquarters in Menji, found in Funtem. Now, according to the interim government's re-establishment, Lebialem County has 3 local government areas, namely Alu, Funtem, and Wabene. The county is located on the mountainous northeastern part of the Midland Zones. It is bordered to the east by Menua Division of the West Region of French Cameroon, south and west by the Manu and Coupe Manenguba counties, and north by Momo County in the Midland Zones. The area ranges from 180 meters to about 2,510 meters above sea level. Now, the origin of Lebialem County. Lebialem County got her name from a famous twin waterfall, the Lebialem Waterfall, which means a hill from which water drops into a pool. This waterfall results from 2 separate and far apart rivers, Begwe and Nsembwe, which culminate at a hill at a very close range and plunge into a single pool. Now, keeping geopolitics aside, let's get into the anthropological history of Lebialem. Lebialem is a county in the southern Cameroons, a territory located in West Africa. The county is situated in the western part of the territory, bordering Nigeria to the west. Lebialem is predominantly inhabited by the Oroko people, who are an ethnic group in the entire sub-region. The anthropological history of Lebialem can be traced back to ancient times when the Oroko people first settled in the area. The Oroko people are believed to have migrated from the Bantu homeland in Central Africa. They settled in the Lebialem region, where they established their own communities and their unique cultural practices and traditions. In the early days, the Oroko people engaged in agriculture as their main occupation. They cultivated crops like yams, corn, plantain, and beans, which provided them with sustenance. The region's fertile soil and favorable climate contributed to their agricultural success. Additionally, the Oroko people were skilled fishermen, as the region is rich in rivers and streams where they could catch fish for their consumption. Over time, the Oroko people developed a complex social structure, with chiefs and traditional leaders providing. They also established various social institutions, such as secret societies and initiation rites, to maintain social cohesion and pass down cultural knowledge. Now, during the colonial era, Lebialem, like the rest of southern Cameroons, was colonized by European powers. The region was first colonized by Germany in the late 19th century and later by the British after World War I. The colonial period had a profound impact on the region as it brought significant changes to the social, political, economic dynamics of Lebialem. Under colonial rule, the Oroko people were exposed to Western education and Christianity. Many Oroko people converted to Christianity and adopted Western education, which influenced their way of life. However, despite these changes, the Oroko people managed to maintain their cultural practices and traditions, albeit with some modifications. Well, in recent years, Lebialem has faced various challenges, including political instability and conflict. The county has been affected by the ongoing conflict in the southern Cameroons, which has led to displacement, violence, and socio-economic hardships. These challenges have had a significant impact on the anthropological landscape of Lebialem and the Oroko people. Despite these challenges, the people of Lebialem continue to strive for the preservation and promotion of their cultural heritage. Efforts are being made to document and preserve their traditional practices, folklore. Additionally, community initiatives are being implemented to empower the local and promote sustainable development in the region. Overall, the anthropological history of Lebialem reveals a rich and diverse cultural heritage shaped by the traditions and customs of the Oroko people. Despite the challenges they face, the Oroko people are resilient and continue to change in circumstances while preserving their unique identity. Well, this is just the first part of our editorial on Lebialem for tonight. In the next piece about this county, Lebialem, we'll look into the touristic nature of Lebialem, strategic location, the climate and vegetation of Lebialem, and its people. The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Let our fallen heroes and heroines guide and shield our men and women. Let their ultimate sacrifice be the reason we change the game and give them what they have been giving us. Ambazonia needs to protect its people from the terrorist troops of La Republican War. The time is now to do just that.
So hard to be, maybe a great
We are enough, so let's draft, grab, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
I don't think you.
It's time for Lebialem County.
Even when your world has broken down, you should always turn and face your fears. For what doesn't kill you makes you strong. Just keep interested in whatever you do. Listen to your heart and believe like a fool. For however humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortune of time. Oh my brother, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh my sister, one day you would understand what used to be misunderstood, and you would see that you can if another can. Oh, one day, oh.
You're welcome back. Thank you so much, Smart, for that report. Let's get straight into some of the reports for tonight.
No more proof of return to normalcy in war-torn Amberland. Reports getting to Undaunted tells us that at least 3 genocide BS military were rendered lifeless today, 2nd of September 2023, at a locality called Ye Kumbo local government area in Solo land of no return of the dreaded Bui warriors.
Well, these annexationist terrorists were eliminated a neighborhood between Kitiwum and Kikai Lekai, and abandoned there without anyone to pick them up. Eyewitnesses' account holds that these 3 soldiers unwisely took a bike without weapons to protect themselves and only had 2 grenades with them to go escorting and extorting money from the civilians around.
Well, the Bui Ambazonian Restoration Forces Major General and his boys apprehended them immediately at the same point. They ambushed the ARF's captain and, quote, avenged immediately, leaving their lifeless bodies there, but collecting the grenade and the motorcycle.
Well, this is coming barely 2 days. The same intelligent forces of Bui warriors neutralized 2 military at Kishong, about 5 kilometers away from this scene, making a total of 5 military in 2 days. Bui remains the land of no returns for these terrorists of La République du Cameroon. Now, this report is Costi Scandi Media.
Well, moving on, reports also getting to us have confirmed the tragic death of Colonial La Republic Special Branch Commissioner of Police for Bamenda local government area with the name Asila Angus Evis on Thursday, August 31st, 2023, and how the incident has left the occupier Colonial La Republic Police military occupation in a state of shock and consternation.
Reports add that at the time of the shooting, the police officer was wearing civilian attire in Ntamulong Junction neighborhood. Someone shot him after he stepped out of his car. The shooters carried out the act and then disappeared, said an eyewitness. The population also hesitated to quickly take him to the hospital for the fear of the unknown. A witness reported that they eventually transported him to Mbingo Baptist Hospital in Boyo County, where despite all efforts to revive him, he tragically passed away.
Well, the demise of Colonial La Republic Superintendent of Police Asila Angus Evis has received a number of reactions, especially as he was a devoted officer who carried out the Colonial La Republic annexationist assigned duties. It's interesting that with all the ongoing war in Ambazonia, that has brought a great deal of insecurities, the international community still chooses to be blind to the lies of normalcy that La Republic keeps telling, or maybe chooses to ignore, because their silence with heirs in Africa has shown recently to be quite the contrast to their reaction with coup d'etats. Well, what can we say? Which brings us to our next concern of the day. The coup sequels in Africa has made a South African activist say, Gabon after Gabon, Cameroon should not disappoint the people.
Well, President Biya needs not fear, as his military is well fed and addicted to beer and women and can kill only Ambazonians who are enemies, rats, cockroaches, or dogs. Julius Selo Malema, An anti-apartheid icon and staunch critic of African dictators, has pleaded with Cameroon not to disappoint the continent. After Ali Bongo, all eyes are fixed on La République du Cameroon and its genocidal monarch Biya, who declared a senseless war on innocent, peace-loving neighboring southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Julius Malema is a South African politician who is a member of parliament and the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, a far-left party that he founded in 2013. He was formerly the president of the African National Congress Youth League from 2008 until his expulsion from the party in 2012. Cameroon, please do not disappoint us. We are waiting, he wrote on X, formerly Twitter, hours after the military seized power from Gabon President Ali Bongo, August 30, 2023.
Well, it is unclear whether Malema's tweet is a direct call for the Cameroonese military to take over power from dictator Biya, but it seems President Biya is already prepared for any eventuality. Because as we brought to you on Thursday, President Biya has already appointed new military and defense officials just on Wednesday, August 30th, as events in Gabon were still hot. Well, here are some reactions to Malema's post. In one comment, one of them said, "Thank you, my leader. I'm hoping the Cameroon military will gather the courage to face their front like their West African neighbors have been doing." Grandpa Paul Biya Moscow wrote someone called the Oracle. Ari Elua says, "Yebo, yes. We are waiting for the drum. We are waiting for the music. And our ancestors have called. Let's get the party started. A child born in 1982 is too old not to have another brother. It's time to give birth so that we can welcome the new baby."
Well, Paul Biya will leave voluntarily between April 1st and June 30th, 2024. He is on a special spiritual assignment to usher in the total economic liberation of Africa and the New World Order. Yes, he caused the crisis, but for the greater interest of the continent, let him stay, says Nkwame Mukong. Now, before we continue, it is of interest here that we notify you that the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, President Samuel Ikomesako, is already present. So that means if you are yet to log in, you are wrong and you need to be there because the draft would begin in earnest. All right, so let's take this one more report before we get to our panelists so that we can have a full-fledged report and discussions. France holds on Africa. Well, it seems it is truly losing its grip. Mali has just definitely put an end to its dependence on France by concealing the 11 colonial agreements imposed on African countries since 1960. After independence, 14 French-speaking countries signed 11 agreements with France, which are as follows. Let's take the first agreement. The colonial debt to repay the benefits of colonization. This is to say that the newly independent states must reimburse the cost of the infrastructures built by France during the colonization.
Well, the second agreement on the list is the automatic confiscation of national financial reserves. Thanks to Gra Kosi Kosi for this one, we'll break it down in bits. This means African countries, French colonies precisely, must deposit their financial reserves with the Banque de France. Thus, France has been guarding, quote, the financial reserves of 14 African countries since 1961. Benin, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Togo, the Cameroons, the Central African Republic, Chad, Congo-Brazzaville, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon.
The governance of monetary policies remains as strenuous and incomplete due to the fact that it is managed directly by the French government without any link with the financial authorities of countries such as ECOWAS or CIMAC.
Now, on the other point, due to the conditions that bind the Bank of the 14 countries of the CFA economic and financial zones, they are obliged to keep 65% of their foreign exchange reserves in an operation account maintained by the French Treasury, as well as an additional 20% in order to cover financial risks.
Well, in addition, the banks of the CFA zones impose a credit limit on each member country, which is equivalent to 20% of state revenues in the current budget year. Although the BEAC, the BEC, and the BCEAO have higher withdrawal possibilities from the French Treasury. These withdrawals must first be the subject of the agreement of the French Treasury. The final decision, therefore, rests with the French Treasury, which has itself invested the reserves of African countries on the Paris Stock Exchange.
Well, in other words, that is 85% in total of African financial reserves are deposited in an operation account controlled by the French administration. The two banks in the CFA zone are African by their names, but do not decide any of the monetary policies by themselves. The worst thing about this is that the countries themselves do not even know how much of their financial reserves are due to them.
Now, let's quickly run through the rest agreements. Now, the right of first refusal on any raw or natural resource discovered in the country. Now, this means France has the first right to purchase the natural resources of the land of its former colonies before other interested partners can.
And on the fourth agreement, priority to French interests and companies in public procurement and public tenders. In simple terms, this leaves all the economic levers of these French colonies in the hands of French expatriates, even if these African countries can get better value for money as well.
Well, the fifth agreement, exclusive right to provide military equipment and train military officers of the colonies. Now, adding this to that on agreement 6, the right for France to deploy troops and intervene militarily in the country to defend its interests. Under the so-called defense agreement attached to the colonial pact, France not only has this right, but also to permanently station troops in military base and installments entirely managed by the French.
Now, the seventh agreement here is the obligation to make French the official language of the country and the language for education. An organization for the French language and the dissemination of French culture has even been created. It is called the Francophonie and has several satellite organizations. These organizations are affiliated to and controlled by the French Minister of Foreign Affairs. With just these 7 stated agreements, you'd want to ask, what's really independent about these French colonies' independence?
Well, the 8th agreement, the obligation to use the CFA franc of the French colonies in Africa. With this agreement, French colonies are first to use the franc CFA exclusively.
Now, in the 9th agreement, it says that the obligation to send to France an annual balance sheet and a report on the state of reserves. No report, no money.
The 10th agreement renounced any military alliance with other countries unless authorized by France. Now, most of these countries only have military alliances with their ex-colonizers simply because France forbade them any other military alliance. But the situation has been unblocked. For Mali, Mali can now freely cooperate with all the countries of the planet without asking France for permission.
Well, and to the last agreement, the 11th agreement, is the obligation to ally with France in the event of war or a global crisis. That is, Africa, based on this agreement, will de facto be committed to the side of France in the event of the Third World War.
All right, now this is why we do not stop denouncing this colonization, which has now been practiced since 1960 by interposed persons. That is to say, by leaders of their choices, whom they support and whom they protect, by imposing dictatorship on them in front of their own people. Gra Kosi Kosi Advisors says their compatriots, in view of all these moral, physical, and psychological scams, the new African generation must do its part to restore the national achievements of our continent in order to leave a worthy legacy to future generations. All right. So, with all of these agreements and lectures, it tells a lot, right? Now, let's get back to those that have the authorities, those that have the knowledge to dissect and analyze some of the reports that we have presented here tonight. Getting back into the studio, let's meet Barrister T. Mbasia, have Barrister John So also there. And, before we get back into the draft where Chairman Valerie Efwet is. But Barrister Team, basically, let's start with you. It seems like the teams, should we call them team, in Africa just woke up. Did you foresee any of this before now?
Because the human race realized that it was wrong. So this is all predictable. Nobody, no nation, no people have been suppressed forever in the history of the world. And so if the French did not foresee this, then they ceased just to be human beings. If the Egyptians could not suppress the Israelites forever, then why do the French think that they were going to deceive Africans forever? But before I get out of there, let me revisit the BLM, because this is where we are. You told all the history of the BLM, but the BLM is more than that. Forefront of this struggle, geographically and otherwise. As we speak right now, the pillars that were planted to divide French East Cameroon and British Southern Cameroon are still standing in Lebialem. There have been efforts over the years, but are prepared to bring down the pillars. They have even gone to their own courts in Bafoussam. But I can assure you, sitting here today, that the pillars are still standing there. So the colonial relics is fully represented in Lebialem. Lebialem is more than agriculture. We have sufficient mineral deposits. We have phosphates. That stretches along the border with our law LGA to the main one. We still have spots in the BLM in the north, which are named and called coast, because that's where the custom post lay. So as we come to draft the BLM, we draft the BLM as the BLM. We draft the BLM as Ambazonia. For there will be no the BLM without Ambazonia, and there will be no Ambazonia without the BLM. Again, over to the French. The day is dawning on you, and you've seen your own allies move away from you, from your past. There's also much you can hide. There comes a time. Woman has no place to hide during time of delivery. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Tim Besia. It's a good thing we have legal minds in the studio tonight, because what has been trending for at least weeks now has been the fact that France has been losing its grip on Africa. And it's interesting that our very last report talks about that, what has happened in Mali. Mali not just denouncing French as their official language, also denouncing even their currency. Right now, what I want to ask is, there's been a series of coups, especially in Francophone countries, I'd like to ask, what would you say to you, Barrister Frunjon? So, what would you say is the thing that broke the circle this period? Like, it's been happening for over 60 years, this whole 11th agreement we just read now, this 11th agreement where over 80% of these African French colonies revenue gets to France. The reserves are all in France. What broke the circle this period where everybody is waking up and they're like saying no to this? Mali just cut off from this agreement. They canceled the agreement. What would you say is the trigger that made these countries wake up?
Thank you very much. Before I speak, I like to say that there is something interfering in the audio. So if we can, somebody has something that is interfering.
Okay.
Now are you saying you can hear me now?
Yes. Thank you very much for that question. I want to state here, this is my opinion, that the 7 years of education, everyday education by this interim government and the fight on the ground about France in Africa, and also the immense contribution of Ambassador Arikana, the former AAU, the former African Union ambassador to the United States, has educated Africans, particularly Francophone Africans, to know that they were being duped by the French. And that is why you see what is happening today, because of the awareness brought on the continent by the Amazonian struggle and Ambassador Arikana of AAU, the former ambassador of the AAU to the United States. Having said that, these coups have, if you notice, these coups have been non-bloody. That is, nobody has shed any blood, because the military in Africa, the young people in Africa who are mostly in the military, well, not mostly, but the majority, some of them are in the military, and the rest are mostly on the streets, have come to realize that bloody coups are unnecessary, and that they have to change. They have to drive away the French by the people's power. That's why you see the various coups taking place successively in the manner in which they are taking place without shedding African blood. Now, having said that, I want to debunk a little bit, I may be wrong, debunk a little bit for those who think that the coup in Gabon was organized by the French. I beg to disagree, because the French have received a black eye in West Africa, and the French will be the last people to ignite any kind of fire in Central Africa. Central Africa had remained a place where the French were still hoping to salvage something. But the coup in Gabon has put a dent on the French thinking. Listen, if you listen to the population in Gabon, they were calling on Cameroon to be the next. If you listen to the roundtable conferences that have been held in Europe, particularly in France, they are telling the whole world that the next country that this will happen, that Africans will be awoken, is Cameroon, the Congo Brazza, Equatorial Guinea, and of course, to a lesser extent, Chad. But they made a difference. They indicated a difference between the coup, that the non-bloody coups that are taking place in West Africa, with what is going to happen in Cameroon. The international community, the journalists of the international community are predicting a bloody coup in Cameroon because of the way Paul Biya had divided the army so that it can easily be protected. And on the 30th of August, the same day that the coup took place in Gabon, Paul Biya came out with a decree making appointments in the military. But that appointment did not interest me. What interests me is only one aspect of that appointment, and that is he created what they call in French cellule de contrôle des armées, under the control of the minister delegate in the presidency in charge of defense.
Yeah, Barrister Phil,
What does that mean?
Before you continue, there was a statement that you made there where you said the whole world, which some of us also saw, that the whole world is trying to call on the Cameroons to be the next. Now, do you think that Ambazonians should also be interested in what the whole world wants for the Cameroons? And do you think that it can make this journey easy or easier for Ambazonians? You know the journey I'm talking about, the journey to Boya. Do you think that if it happens, it will be easier for Ambazonians to get to Boya? Do you think that they should be excited about probably the world calling on Cameroons to do the next or to take up the next coup?
Yes, I was going to come to that. Ambazonia should be ready, because it will be a unique opportunity for Ambazonians to accelerate their freedom and have their freedom faster than we think. If a coup takes place in Yaoundé, Douala and Yaoundé will be affected. And in order for it to be affected, as it's going to be affected, there will be the military pressure now on Ambazonia will be reduced. But we have to be prepared to make sure that we respond immediately and be able to protect Ambazonia from the coup plotters in La République du Cameroun. When I talk of the coup plotter, I'm talking about the military coup. Because if that coup is bloody, as the world is predicting, it would mean that everything the interim government and the Ambazonian people will do everything to protect itself by closing its borders and making sure that those borders stay closed. But let me look at the infrastructure of our borders. The border between the southern zone and La République du Cameroun is one of the most difficult borders that Ambazonia will have to face. I'm not going to get into details, but you must be assured that if the coup takes place, La République du Cameroun may likely reinforce the boundary between the southern zone of Ambazonia and Tarh. But we have one weakness, and that is the sea. But also, we should also note that the AFRICOM, the American military, is stationed in the Gulf of Guinea, which means that the Gulf of Guinea must be under control for us to be able to protect ourselves from the coup that is going to take place in La République du Cameroun. That is if it takes place. But I am sure that the coup will take place, because the way Paul Biya is panicking, the way he's doing it, I have been reliably informed that his son is no longer in Yaoundé. The so-called Frank Biya, who is being prepared to take over power, he left on the 30th of August, the same day of the coup. Where he went to, nobody knows, but he has left Yaoundé. What I'm trying to say is this: Ambazonia must be prepared to act very fast if that coup takes place immediately, to protect itself by attempting to close all the borders. Even if the border in the southern zone is difficult, we will make every attempt to ensure that there's no spillover into Ambazonia. And that is where this drafting has become so important. Drafting for Lebialem, we all know that Lebialem has been and continues to be the epicenter of the freedom fight for Ambazonia. Lebialem has given its all to Ambazonia. We have a moral duty. When I say we Ambazonians all over the world, and at home and abroad and on this planet, we have a duty to make sure that we draft today to protect Lebialem, because Lebialem has a boundary with La République du Cameroon, just like FACO has the main boundary with La République du Cameroon. We have to draft today to give our restoration forces in Lebialem the means to ensure that there is no spillover of anything from La République du Cameroon into Amazonia. I don't know whether I answered your question, but that is exactly what the whole world is saying, that Cameroon is going to be the only bloody coup among all the coups that are taking place because of the way the army is divided and with different interests. From what we know about the army, there is what you call the presidential guard. There's what you call the B. These are the forces that take all the resources for themselves, all the equipment, all the advantages are given to them. The rest of the army, that is the infantry, the air force, and the navy, have been neglected. So it will be between these two pillars, and the others will have to divide themselves to enter which way they think is the winning side. That is going to be bloody, and Ambazonians should be prepared to make sure that our citizens are protected and also that we have our freedom immediately. That is what we should be working on now.
Actually, Barrister Fru,
So the draft for Lebialem is so important, it's so strategic that immediately.
You made a valid point that a lot of people haven't seen. That's something a lot of people are not actually putting into spectrum. But speaking on that, amongst all this coup going on, France, it's obvious that France is losing its grip in Africa. No doubt, Amazonian securing her sovereignty within the Gulf is also very critical, and it jeopardizes French interest a big way. Chairman Valerie, this question now is to you, Chairman Valerie. Drafting Lebialem at this point now makes it also very critical. How prepared is your county for tonight's draft? Because in all this, what is most paramount is Amazonian sovereignty. So how prepared is your county for tonight's draft?
Yeah, thank you, Star, and thank you once more for bringing me here. First of all, earlier when Oni introduced me, I think she did mention that I'm the LGA chair for Alo. I was once the LGA chair for Alo, but when the coup plotter came up with what we all know, so my people moved me up to Lebialem County Coordinator. And tonight, I'm really calling on Ambazonians. This started from last year, the last draft that we got, when everything messed up. I was really, really encouraged by some members of the cabinet of our interim government, and also some powerful Lebialemers. They call me from behind and say, please, Mr. Chairman, we have seen you, we've seen your direction. We really want to stand and make sure that Lebialem is represented in this government. As I'm talking to you now, I still have my dedicated team with me. They are all here. You will see, and we are all prepared. We've put the resources that we can together and to make sure Lebialem keeps on the revolution. If I go a little bit more, you will see that out of the 13 counties in Amazonia, La République du Cameroon itself pulled out all the government teachers out of Lebialem and send them to other counties and to also neighboring La République du Cameroon. So Lebialem, as we speak, we have no what we call the government school in Lebialem. The whole area has been turned into a forest, not just bushes, but I mean a forest. So the people of Lebialem have done a lot, they have suffered a lot in this war. I mean it. I have some relatives, they go back home when they tell me that, look, if you get to the market square, they did not even know that is the market square. Somebody only told them that we are here at the market square. It's a forest. As we are talking to you, no school, No administration over there. We don't have the DO, the delegate. They all stay in Menu in Cham, and they sign the document, their offices over there. They can't trespass in the BLM, even with the passing away of the field marshal, they thought everything was going to return. But under this government, we still have our dedicated ARF that they stand with us. Yes, I advise a lot of them when that happened that listen, I brought in the vice president on a conference call and we all talked together. Some of them listened to me and some did not. And those who listen to us, they are with us and they are still prepared to stand with us. Another thing is, if you look at the percentage of the ex-fighter, the one that have moved to DDR, very few of them from Lebialem have gone to DDR. They are all there. Some of them have retired, they're in their cocoa farms, but they are still ready to come back and continue the revolution. So all we need is to put these resources together and make sure we will bring them back and make Lebialem a very hot county again. I mean, very hot. That you yourself will believe that what I'm saying here today is applicable. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chairman Valerie. Thank you so much. And congratulations. You would have to forgive me for going back to your past. I mean, we have to stay in line with your new level. Congratulations. But talking about Lebialem, we need to get some of the strategic locations because I mean you've said something, but Stir Smart documented something very, very strategic when it comes to locations, touristic places in Lebialem. And I think that while we're talking about Lebialem, the whole world should see this also.
Yeah, only. Lebialem, when you move down from the menu, that is the main entrance to the BLM. As you cross the border, you will hit the first LGA, which is called Alo LGA. That is where it comes from. And then next to it, you have Fontem and Wabani. These are the three LGAs that make up the BLM. And of these three LGAs, we have Alo and Fontem that they call them the Bangwa people, while the Wabani is called the Mondani people. But they all stay in one county. And when you go to tourism in the BLM, that name the BLM was derived from a waterfall. Like Smart said earlier, the waterfall falls from a height of a boma tree, and which is one part of that waterfall comes from the village called Lewo in Alo, and the other one comes from Fontem, precisely in Leban. The BLM, the administrative headquarters is in Menji. The waterfall is a big source of tourist attraction that if you go to Lebialem, you will see in the past, you see a lot of white.
No, just hold on a bit. Chairman Valerie, please. This what you're saying, we already have it documented for the people. So yeah, the Smart has it documented already. So you just sit back and ensure that whatever she says is correct. All right. So let's show the people through visuals what Lebialem touristic and strategic locations look like. Then we'll come back to you. You can add, minus, or subtract whatever you do not like.
You're welcome back. And now, on to the second segment of our editorial for tonight. We'll begin with the touristic nature of Lebialem. The Lebialem waterfall is just one of several touristic sites and wonders of Lebialem division. Amongst others, we can think of the Nyis, Fongongkem in Mbindia, Leban, two giant isolated peaks in suburbs that stand tall above the surrounding lands and can be seen from several positions in the county on a bright day. Locals refer to them as the male and female Nyis. There is also the Tutankeng in Mwok area, a massive rock that hangs on a high hill, giving an impression that it will collapse the next minute at first sight, but stands still. Mount Marga in Bamumbu, and more, and a broad range of fauna and flora. Now the strategic location of Lebialem. Another very interesting aspect of Lebialem County is her strategic location at the crossroads of the coastal lowlands and western highlands of southern Cameroon. Well, this explains why most of Lebialem County is a highland area. Some have suggested this could probably be one of the reasons of the success of the then Field Marshal, the King of Lebialem. The special impetus is that it takes off from the Mount Basin area and rises gradually or gently from the regions of Essoata, Njogu, Nsogo, and Fosong, Leban, Nchin, Ndungate, and a greater part of Wabane local government area with level lands and low altitudes to Bamembo, the Alu market area, Mok area, and Mbidia, which have very high altitudes characterized by isolated hills and peaks. Now the climate and vegetation of Lebialem. Lebialem is also a transitional zone from the tropical forest vegetation to the savanna grassland vegetation of southern Cameroon. Moving through Lebialem division from the Mount Basin area or the Mbobayang Sanctuary, you will be struck by the gradual but progressive change in vegetation, climate, and altitude as you progress towards the western highlands of southern Cameroon. Considering the fact the climate is the major factor that influences vegetations, one will experience warm temperatures as he or she enters Lebialem from the Mamfe and Mbo areas. The vegetation here is more of forest, tropical evergreen, with trees of above 50 meters like iroko, mahogany, boma, and crops like cocoa nuts, cocoa bitter cola, palms, robusta, coffee, and many more. The temperatures and vegetation will keep changing, and the next range of forest is the deciduous forest, and the climate looks warm. The vegetation here is characterized by trees of heights below 50 meters, and crops may include some of the crops found in the first zone, but their productivity seemingly low. Some like coconut, palms, bitter cola, and cocoa may flourish but not produce fruits. The zone paves the way to the savanna grassland zone with trees of heights below 30 meters. The only trees which can grow above 30 meters are the eucalyptus and other crop trees like kola nut trees, which are planted and which are suited for the climate. Temperatures are generally very low with foggy weather. Crops that dominate here are Arabica coffee, beans, potatoes, and some tubers. In the Mok area, there is cultivation of foods like carrots, vegetables, onion, Irish potato, and many more. A rearing of the cattle also like cows, sheep, goats, and donkeys too. The people of Lebialem. Let's take a deeper look into the people of Lebialem. Regarding the people of Lebialem, there are two schools of thought as follows. The former school of thought, according to the British colonial decision of 1922, that established Bangwa district and Mundani district as part of the then Manfe division in the Bamenda province of the British Southern Cameroon. Many people say Lebialem has two tribes, the Bangwa and Mundani. The Bangwas of Unwa or Unwe and the Melabe or Belabe of Mundani, the Lebialem people, are commonly called the Unwa Mundani or Unwe Mundani people. The above term, Bangwa and Melabe or Belabe, represents the people as a whole, while Unwe or Unwa and Mundani are the traits. Conversely, an individual from Unwa Unwe is called Wenwa, Wenwe, while that from Mundani is called Ndabe. These people are further split into three administrative local government areas, Alu, Fontem, and Wabani. The Bangwas constitute two local government areas, Alu and Fontem, while the Milabe constitutes the Wabane local government area. The local government areas are made up of villages. Alu local government area occupies 6 villages, which includes the Lewo, Ndugate, Nwamitao, Nwangong, Mokmbi, and Mwok Nje. Fontem local government area occupies 3 villages, Essoata, Lebang, and Njongwe. These 9 villages make up the Nwa Nwe tribe, while the whole of Mundani tribe with 8 villages, Bamumbu, Bangang, Banti, Bechate, Besali, Folepi, Ngumbo, Nkong make up the Wabane local government area. The people of Lebialem came from various origins. Part of the Bangwas, especially those making up the Funtem local government area, owe their origin to the Bayang Manthe area. The other part, those making up the Alu local government area, mostly migrated from the Bamileki of the west region of French Cameroon. The Milaba of the Mundani tribe are said to have their roots from the Bayang area and Widukum in the Momo County of the Midland Zone of Cameroon. However, some families in some villages might have originated from a background different from the others. The right of the majority prevails in such situations. According to Victor Julius Ngo in the Tainted History of Cameroon, since 1800s, the Lebialem people are part of the Tikas who migrated through time from the Lake Chad area. The Tikas are a dominant population who migrated from the northern German Cameroon, Lake Chad area southwards, and their offsprings occupy most of the western grasslands of present-day Cameroon. And with this, we approach the very end of this entire editorial on Lebialem. We just talked about the former school of thought concerning the people of Lebialem and their origin. In the next part of our editorial, which will be the last part of our editorial for tonight, we'll take a look at the current school of thought about the people of Lebialem and their origin. But for now, we've come to the end of the second segment of our editorial on Lebialem.
All right. Thank you so much, Steph Smart, for that second part of the editorial tonight. Chairman Valerie, so do you have
Yes.
additional things? Because the president is ready to address the people. But before we transit into the Zoom proper for the draft, let's hear your last words as well.
Yes. She has done it digitally and very, very correctly, just as much as I know. That is what the BLM is. We are here for draft today, and the message I should be passing out here more should concern our draft and nothing else. I will not hesitate to go on with my own dialect to encourage my people, whoever that is, can listen to me, to know that we are out here so that they can step up and then come and draft to support this quest for liberation. So I will go to say that bo ntware ngo ngwen chemchem bo ngo mbundani tenwa ju man ntwa ngo mbundani re fobo na ntonga bi ole bi elam ngore chongo asembo ale draft abo sembo yem zabo ma nkap aron support wonko bi obi mba na roncho aron support the refugee the prisoners we be ko na Nigeria ebe bi na Nigeria Dr. Sako atungo bonga Nigeria ezre fama yan kap draft jaba na sentangoro ngobo bogoro bolo bangonu nganga menjam nfu support draft bo ale alajio bon do ba ngo bisin zota arami njio ba again ba konta vota me. So I just said that to my dialect, and I believe some people must have heard, and they will show up to support the draft, because this is something that we can't shy away. The war that was declared on, we must fight it. I, for one, there is no way. I'm going nowhere. I'm here. So I think this is the last word that I have for the show, and we only meet at the draft. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Chairman Valerie. All right, but before we get the president's speech and address, Barrister Fu and Barrister team, they say you would have your your last words. So let's start with Barrister Tim this year.
Well, the coordinator has said everything about Lebialem. But let me just dive back a bit on the crisis in Gabon. See, there comes a time I've said that the past will come to haunt you. The 1959 agreements are now haunting France. Amongst those agreements was one that they will use the French currency. If we watch TV, you find people with tons and tons of money lying in their boxes upon boxes in their yards. What is this money worth if it is not in circulation? The franc CFA imposed on Cameroonians and French-speaking Africans is not a transferable currency. You cannot take that in and go and buy cocoyams even in Egypt. It's useless money. It is stockpiled in your box. Money is not money. And so the military junta that have carried out this coup and they are continuing to carry the coups have realized that they have been deceived too long for no reason. The few of them who had the opportunity to steal their money and come abroad, transform it into euros, into dollars, what valuable property. Those who kept theirs in their boxes. Money is not money unless it is in circulation. What will you do with it? They gave you a house full of some pieces of paper called CFA franc. Can you move to Nigeria to buy cassava? Is that what you call money? That's what the French gave to the African colonies. Again, we're out of it as Ambazonians. We're out of it as Lebialem. We shall overcome, and we have overcome. So, France is going down the drain. They are going down the drain to rise no more. Thank you.
All right, so you would want to introduce Barrister Free Johnson.
Yes.
Hold on screen. I would like to get your last words, Barrister Free Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much. I have two appeals. The first is for Lebialem. I am craving for the resurgence of the red dragons. They are now dispersed from doing their farming and so on. They should now know that there is a coup that is being prepared in La République du Cameroon, and we should not allow that coup to affect those in the boundaries with La République du Cameroon, and Lebialem is one of them. All Ambazonians today should draft and donate so that we give the means to Chairman Valerie to protect the boundary between Chang and Lebialem. That's my first appeal. My second appeal is to all Africans, and especially the Africans of La République du Cameroon, especially those that carry guns in the name of the army in La République du Cameroon. Make sure that you protect our African brothers by following what is happening in all the other countries, and let's liberate Africa from the hands of the French. Ambazonia will will do everything to protect itself, but we will expect that our brothers of La République du Cameroon, particularly the army, no matter that you were tribalized, you should rise like one person and make sure that the country of La République du Cameroon is taken away, so that while Ambazonia is getting free, you too should be free. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the pre-draft show for Lebialem. But before we go, we have another part of the editorial that you have to see. Now, let's get that.
And now on to the last part of our editorial for tonight. The current school of thought by recent researchers and scholars on the peoples of Lebialem. According to recent researchers, including Professor Fanso Vincent Lockhart, Mune Organization, etc., their research works has demonstrated that Lebialem has three distinctive peoples: the Bangwas, the Mundanis, and the Mwoks. Their research works examined the very foundation of the Bangwa district in 1922, as found in the Bangwa District Assessment Report written by H. Cadman, which stated that Mwok people are not Bangwas, as well as the field fact finding to conclude that indeed Mwok people are not Bangwas, though sometime in the past referred to as such, based on colonial administrative decision for governance of the territory under British. Thus, in evidence to state without ambiguity that Lebialem division has three principal ethnic groups or tribes constituted as follows. First, the Bangwa tribe. The Bangwa tribe constitutes the people of Lower Bangwa, Funtem, Eswata, and Njongwe, and the people of Upper Bangwa, Lewo, Ndungete, Nwamatao, and Nwangong. They speak a common language, Nwe, though with insignificant variations of tongues. The second, the Mundani tribe. The tribe constitutes the people of Lower Mundani, Nkong, Bangang, Bisali, Bichati, Folebi, Banti, and Ngumbo, and the people of Upper Mundani, Bamumbu, except Mwok Lete. These people speak Mundani language with variations of tongues. The people of the Lower Mundani are very close in language, opposed to the people of Upper Mundani, but they still understand one another. And the third, the Mwok or Bamok tribe. This tribe constitutes the people of Mwok Lete or Futang, Mwok Fosimondi, and Mwok Fosimombin, who speak the Mwok language alongside other Mwoks in southern Cameroon, including Mwok Liling, Fosong Eliling in the western region of French Cameroon, and Bamok, Santa in the Mezam County in the Midland zone of southern Cameroon. Now, among the three ethnic groups, the only ethnic group with a single ancestral root is the Mwok group. The other two are integrated groups who came from different directions with different ancestral roots. The Mwok people came from the western region of French Cameroon, splitting themselves from the Bamileke. Some in the Bangwa tribe also came from the western region of French Cameroon, splitting themselves from Bamileke too, while others came from Bayang in the Mangu County, following migratory analysis. The people of Upper Mundani are also said to have migrated from Widikum of Momo County in Midland of southern Cameroon, while most people in the Lower Mundani are said to have migrated from Bayang in Mangu County. Now, based on this difference of origin, the Mwok and Bayang people are closely related to the Bamileke and practice similar culture and lifestyle, while the people of Upper Mundani practice more of Widikum culture and lifestyle, and Lower Mundani practice more of Bayang culture and lifestyle. The population of Lebialem. An accurate data of the population of Lebialem has not been established, but estimates stand at about 600,000 people. Lebialem people, especially Bangwas, are among the major tribes with huge colonies of settlers in other tribes. For example, Nwa people in the Muyuka local government area seem to be more than the Balongs, who are the original settlers of the area. Huge colonies of Nwar people also settle in the Bafo area of Kumba, the Bakwere area of Boya, Muntengene, Muyunge, and more. In a nutshell, Lebialem people are scattered all over the Cameroon and the world at large, with significant populations in Europe, the USA, Canada, and Asia, that is China and Japan. And with this, we've come to the end of our editorial of tonight on Lebialem, and the end of this historically beautiful piece. Editor-in-Chief, Tarh Paddy King. If you want more of such interesting articles, kindly visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for more. Subscribe, become a club member, and a part of this winning strategy. Find out payment details on your screen. I am Star Smart, reporting for Undaunted ABC Amber TV.
Once again, we want to thank every Ambazonian who tuned in from the home front on Facebook and all our social media platforms. We're thanking the audience that are on the Zoom right now watching us. But I have a word of encouragement for you, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. Today is another day of the county draft. On behalf of ABC Amber TV management, on behalf of Mami